Xylo, Jacqueline Fine's up there for me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Magali Jacqueline from Prescient, or like Giraffe Jacqueline from
Prescient.
her
I
investigator
think
card?
I think it was
Prescient.
the pun, is what they're getting at in chat. Because
God,
she's
no,
fine.
scrap the episode. Let's go back. We missed the joke. This is all like, no, we can't continue
Just
on
a
this
fever
way.
dream.
What are we even doing here?
What is the point of us?
Anyways.
Yes, she is fine. Okay.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello, and welcome to episode 138, which is totally different from 137, guys. It's definitely different and not the same night.
Absolutely.
It's, again, it's because it's been a couple weeks, presumably, for most of us. This is Sean. And also we have Justin.
Hello.
And also we have Scott.
Hi.
And this is our B-side recording tonight. Ian, I didn't even mention what Ian why he's not here, but just had some personal stuff to attend to, so we're going on without him. And Nick is still off the podcast, just in case anyone was wondering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm still the new Nick.
The new guy. All right, so anyway, it's our B-side. Last time we talked, we finally finished up Edge of the Earth, and I apologize for this. We just kind of had to do that as a matter of course. But there is some burning news to get to, so we are going to talk about the FAQ that just dropped tonight. It's the first one in 6 months? 9 months?
Almost a year? 9 months?
Almost a year.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And it has that amount of weight to it, I dare say. We'll talk about it when we get there. I read the article that came with it and have observed people talking about it. So I know some things. A lot of this is going to be raw and real for me. So yeah, looking forward to that. But before we get to any of that, we have some correspondence to clear, boys. So, as a quick reminder, before we hop into our hotline, Hotmail. It's been a minute since Hotmail crossed
90s.
My brain.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have a fair few hotline messages to get to, but before we do that, I want to remind you guys that you can call us on our Mythos Busters hotline at 203-493-6984 and leave us a comment, a question, a thing to discuss, or if you'll remember from last episode, and we'll announce it at the beginning of this one and hopefully hit more people with it, we're putting a call out for the next couple episodes because we want to do a segment on house rules. So we would love to hear from you guys on what Arkham house rules you use, maybe how it came about, how you whether it's a sometimes thing. Just give us the story on your Arkham house rules, and we'll play as many of them as we can justify playing when that episode rolls around. So again, that's 203-493-6984 or 203-493-MYTH. Oh, Scott, I was waiting for you to do the Facebook thing.
Oh, right. And if you're on our Facebook page on your phone, you can just click the call the Mythos Busters button, and it just dials that number. So, feel free to email in your house rules too. Like if you don't feel like calling them in, mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. It's also easier for us to track, I think, because then we can just like copy paste them into a document. So, however you want to get those to us, please do, because I'm really excited to hear all of them because I've seen tons of them. And I just want to have them all in one place so we can talk about a whole bunch of them.
And I think what we could even do, don't hold me to this yet because I'll have to do the work, but I bet we could even get a good chunk of them on the website just for posterity as well. I think that'd be a nice resource for people. So yes, please send us what you've got so that we can share it with others.
I think we can even sort them into categories too, right? Like there's a bunch like, hey, if you're a new player struggling, do this. Hey, if you're having trouble with this, do that. Because that's the majority of the house rules I've seen. Is like, hey, I'm thinking about moving up to hard, but I don't quite want to do it. How can I adjust the difficulty, right? Like, there's just, there's awesome categories. So whichever ones
As
you have.
categories become apparent, we'll make them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super interested to see what people do because the conversation normally revolves around the rules as written because that's our touch point. But if I think about the way I play and I consider myself generally pretty diehard and I don't play on expert or hard, but I'm all right. I don't play by the rules in a lot of ways, so I'm going to come with my own little list when we do that episode.
Mm-hmm.
We can compare. All right, well, let's get to our email or our voicemails this week. So first, we have a message from Jeff, aka Winging It.
Hey, Mythos Busters. This is Jeff, aka Winging It. And I've been going back and listening to a few episodes that I missed, namely the card review episodes that you guys did of Edge of the Earth. And I just wanted to bring up a card that I think you missed and or perhaps under-evaluated. And that card is Savant. And I completely understand, what Sean had said about, I need skill cards to give me more effects. And, not just help me pass tests. Yeah, I feel that way about a lot of skill cards. But Savant is special, and I really want you guys to see the potential because it surprised me. I've been playing through Innsmouth with my wife and actually have been recording these video series, and she picked Savant as one of her upgrades, which I was like, okay, it's not a terrible card. She's playing Bob. And I said, let's just see how it goes. Well, the numerous situations that she's used that, I think she's committed it almost every time she's had it in her hand. And that's kind of the sign, I think, of a good card. So I want to look a bit deeper into what it does. Now, let me tell you, say you had in Rogue a card that is just always worth 4 willpower icons. You would think that was pretty good, right? That's kind of how the desperate cards work, and you have to do more work to make those to make those even playable, right? That's where you get Desperate Duke from. But of all your rogues with the low willpower, almost all of them have 3 or higher in their other stats, right? So for Winnie, this is 4 willpower icons. For Bob, this is 4 willpower icons. I know he's not a rogue, but he's a rogue, right? So anyway, that's where I've watched my wife play this, and all of a sudden she's testing at 6 on a Rotting Remains because she can just commit Savant because it's worth 4 icons to any Rotting Remains test. That goes from an automatically take 3 failure to, hey, I'm 3 up on this test. Winnie would be 2 up. Other rogues, Finn would be 2 up, but that's a big difference between, hey, I just know I'm going to fail this test, to, oh, well, okay, if I draw -3, that's only 1 horror. If I draw -2, I pass. That's pretty good. And additionally, the other ways I've seen my wife use this card is, even when she's testing a non-willpower stat, it's still worth 3 icons in Bob. And so if she's trying to get off her scavenging and she hasn't gotten her lockpicks yet, this is 3 icons she can, put into an intellect test. Now, all of a sudden, she has a much better chance of succeed by 2. And so it doesn't just have to be for a willpower test, but that's a really good place for it. So I'm just thinking, if you look at this card as, hey, wait, I can pass willpower tests now as rogue, I understand that's radical, but you don't have to fail willpower tests. You could actually pass them or mitigate them somewhat. Finally, you guys did mention Jenny, and I just wanted to point out that Jenny with a black fan, this card is bonkers, right? It's 5 icons to any stat, and that is really crazy. So I think it's a really good card. It may not go in all decks, but I guess the question is, do you want to pass a willpower test? And if you do, maybe give Savant a look. Thanks. Enjoying the show. Hope you guys have a good discussion about Savant, or at least take another look at it. Thanks.
Just because it's Jeff, I'm going to disagree and say, Jeff, you're wrong.
On principle.
Yeah.
So, Jeff generally got me spot on with what I normally say about skills at the beginning. Normally I need some bang to my skill. Give me a boost to the skill test, but I want something else. And that is normally true, but he also outlined the one time I wholeheartedly agree that's not the case, and that is for a big burst to a willpower test, because I don't know. I still include cards like Steadfast and Take the Initiative pretty often in decks, it's exclusively for that purpose. So the fact that like none of us thought of that when we were talking about this, right? Like the fact that if like your low or your willpower is super low, like say one of the best case scenarios, Finn, right? And then all of your stats are elsewhere, so you're going to be getting those stats into that like I don't know. It never occurred to me, but he's 100% right.
Yeah, I'll look at this. I think the thing for me is the 1 XP. I agree with you, Sean, that like I still take the initiative all the time. Pretty much in anyone who can take it. Because it's 3 wilds. The thing is, it's 3 wilds for anything. And this is the point he's bringing up. It is wilds mostly for willpower, I think, in the examples he's giving. But other times he's right. Like if he's testing in any other skill with Bob, let's say, like this is 3 wilds. I think the value in Winnie and Finn would be slightly less just because it's only going to be willpower. And so the only argument I can formulate against it is that it's only going to be for willpower, and my usual way of dealing with that is just to tank it instead of trying to shore up a weakness. But I would say in 2 willpower rogues that I'm going to take a look at Savant more often. But he is right, like in Winnie and Finn, like it gets them to really great levels as far as willpower goes. So I just don't know if it's worth an XP though. I'm humming and hawing.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone can take the initiative though.
Yeah.
So like it does a pretty similar thing. Obviously for an XP, which is definitely a consideration. But I'd say more so than any other stat, like occasionally throughout the game, you will find yourself going, oh, I really need to pass this willpower test right now. How do I do that? Like most of the time we can tank, your average treachery or whatnot, but like there's so many like little moments where it's like, oh, if I could pass this, it would be great. So,
yeah. I think I will say for sure though, Jeff, I think you've shifted my viewpoint for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think I'm in love with it as much as you are, but you've definitely moved me like 60% the way there. At least
changed the Overton window on Savant. Good job.
Yeah, like it's a big Sauron eye. It's swept across the scale we're using.
As I say, no, keep going, Scott. I think you got this.
Yeah. I'll recover. Don't worry.
But yeah, I mean, I think when we were talking about it before, I was definitely coming at it from the angle of like a general use card where like you would just potentially look at this for any given test. And then I think it's obviously not as good there. So
yeah,
I like the examples because for me, where I don't have as much experience with the deck building aspect, this card would scare me off because I wouldn't be able to see those use cases, and so that was helpful for me to hear.
Well, and that's okay. So quick aside, I think that's one of the like magic things about going out and playing Arkham with people who are not like in your micro meta, who are not part of your like little hive mind. Because you get to see stuff like that. You get to see cards that you have panned, and like even Jeff was talking about in his message, it was his wife who played it. It wasn't him who included it in his own deck to play it. He saw someone else use it, and I don't know. I have discovered a lot of new cards by seeing someone else's deck pop off, and that's really fun.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences at like Arkham Knights, and someone sits down with a deck. I'm like, oh, that seems like not something I would try, but like, and then I watch them pilot it. I'm like, wow, they are really onto something with this. That's really successful, right? It just takes a card that I panned or maybe wasn't super excited about, or only saw it in certain use cases and have just flipped it on its head. So
it's a fun way to have your brain broken, honestly. Like. I very, very much enjoy seeing new life breathed into cards I thought had less of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Moving on from there, we're gonna have a message from Patrick.
Hello, Mythos Busters. This is Patrick calling in with a new topic of discussion. Namely, if you had to rank all of the investigators currently released by their Babelyness, how would you rank them? Would Silas top with his romance cover shirtless smolder, or would Sean win everyone with his beloved Diana? What's your top 3 hottest picks for this list? And would this just be a who's who of investigators with Magali art? Thanks again for the podcast. Hope you all have a good one.
Oh boy, I am excited and scared to answer this question.
Oh boy. Okay, I need to look through a list here.
I know.
because-
So I just went to ArkhamDB and clicked create new deck.
Yeah.
This is the fastest way to get all the faces up in front of you.
Oh. boy.
Okay.
I
so-
mean, Daisy. Good looking, gotta say. She is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You like a Daisy? I mean, I think regardless of the character, anyone drawn by Magali Villeneuve is just automatically beautiful. Just
Yeah.
it's her art style. It always looks great. Like
Oh, Silo. Chat. Who's gonna say Wendy? No one.
no
No
one will
one's
say
saying Wendy. That's a crime. I think Jenny. Jenny, because of the confidence she exudes in her art.
Sure. I think I like Jenny in every art that's not her basic investigator art more.
Okay.
Like Jenny from Burglary. I think
Okay, yeah,
is
yeah.
a better look for her. I mean, Jenny's best look is the novella. You don't see her face, but that is like rock and pose. But yeah, pretty babely.
This feels.
I mean, I'll
this
just go
feels
ahead
weird,
and say.
by the way.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. They're objects. Let's objectify them a little bit, right?
Fair enough.
They're
Sure.
just cardboard.
Yeah.
There's no greater ideas behind any of these things. Okay, so that being said, if we say anything that upsets someone about their pet investigator, we apologize in advance.
Well, the safest way to do this is only say positive things, right? Like,
Okay, about that though.
but I mean, that's what Patrick is asking. What's your top 3, right? He's not asking
Yeah.
for a full tier list.
That's true.
But
All right, so if we're talking Babelyness,
well, okay.
just
So
off
what,
the top of my head, without going,
what's Babelyness though?
what's Babelyness? I would say a very surface level X factor that just makes you attracted to them.
A super id, like
Like a babe is someone who's like,
I'm not thinking about like how
I'm not
smart
forming a
Ursula
human
must be,
connection with this
right.
person. I'm looking at them on the beach.
Oh,
Right?
it just makes me feel dirty to think that way. But I'll try.
All right.
No, it really
All
does.
right.
I have problems from my upbringing.
Oh, well, okay, that's fair. So off the top of my head, my top 3 would be Diana, Silas, and then I'm torn between Patrice and I mean Tommy's got a cute little like button nose thing going on. Tommy's cute, but Babely, yeah, it's either Patrice or Agnes.
Okay,
Let's go with Patrice.
I think I'm going to Mandy.
Okay, fair.
Mandy, Daisy. I mean, no joke, it's got to be Silas.
Who would guess that you were joking?
He's good looking. So, yeah.
I'm pretty sure MJ at some point said that the art brief that's like the art brief for that was like romance novel pirate.
I will see nothing else ever again.
So it's like, yeah, that's what you get. That's Silas.
Yeah. Justin?
All right, Justin.
Oh,
it's your turn.
As your legal counsel, I will be abstaining from this discussion.
Okay,
coward.
I'll allow that. Ian, you can write in.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so who is your investigator that you like would is like on that list of Babely, but probably shouldn't be?
What?
It's Charlie Kane. It's Charlie Kane, guys.
What?
Charlie Kane is such a babe.
No.
Just throwing that out there.
You know who he reminds me of? Who's that guy in Shark Tank?
Charles Durning.
No. Mr. Wonderful is his nickname. I forget what his actual name is, but I hate him. I hate his attitude. I hate everything. Kevin O'Leary, that's his name. Anyways, so that's who Charlie Kane reminds me of, and so I don't like Charlie Kane. Just the picture. I'm just gonna play his card with like, I don't know, a pop can resting over the image, in sleeves, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thanks, Patrick.
thanks, Patrick. We appreciate the silly ones too. We do. Give us more abstract questions. Loving it.
I love that I had no preparation for that. That was the best part. That was from the hip.
That was definitely planned.
It was clear that you were enjoying it, but also hating it at the same time, and
Yeah.
it was entertaining as hell.
Yeah, there was some inner turmoil there for sure. All right, what do we got next, Sean?
Let's do a message from our most steadfast caller, one Big Kahuna.
Hey Busters, Big Kahuna here. I had some thoughts concerning the new taboo list, and I figured that you'd probably be talking about it in this episode.
Correct.
I'll spare you my thoughts concerning whether or not it should exist. I have made those perfectly clear in the past, but I had a discussion with one of my normal playing partners, and he seemed to think that it would be a good idea if it would be broken up into categories. And we came up with 3 or 4 categories that would fit the taboo list. One being too ubiquitous, like higher ed and streetwise. One being too good in the top X 5 or 10% of use cases, like Hallow or Eucatastrophe. The next one being too good in most use cases, like Elusive or Key of Ys. And a potential 4th one being the community clamored for it, and that being like the Necronomicon taboo. It would be really nice to know what reasons each of the cards were being put on the taboo list. I know that MJ and FFG do a good job of writing an article describing some of the thoughts behind it, but it'd be nice to think about it for our side more about that. Anyway, thanks for taking my call. Hope to hear it on the podcast. Bye.
His idea kind of reminds me of some of the restricted lists or those lists in the competitive LCGs where they had like blocks of cards. Like you can only have one card from block A, one card from block B, one card from block C, because it would stop. Like there were certain cards within block A that if you combine them together, they were broken, but alone they were fine. And Star Wars LCG had like you cannot have both of these or all 3 of these or any one of these, whatever, objective sets. Just reminds me of that as an idea. But his idea is interesting. I think it might be too complicated though.
Well, Scott, can I jump in? Is he suggesting that there would actually be some sort of restricted list like that, or is it just within the taboo list, it's broken down to here's the rationale? Because I
got the latter out of what he said.
Yeah, I was just hearing that it was, could we, like, taboo is going to be taboo, but within it would be helpful as a player to know why that taboo exists. Is it because it's just a ubiquitous thing that should be? Is it because it's too good in the 5 to 10% of cases, too good most of the times, or it's community requested? And it looks like that is what the voicemail is getting at. He just confirmed in chat.
I mean, I think I would always love more, right? Like the articles are usually quite good, and we'll go over this one because I thought this article was quite good. But I get what you're saying, Big Kahuna, where not every card is explained at the detail that you'd probably want it to. I assume it just must be a time thing, or also how much FFG wants to put in an article, right? Like we all know Maxine can write because right, like she is good with words, and she also has a lot of them, which thankfully I enjoy that. And I would love to hear more of her thoughts on each of these cards. And I mean, maybe that's something we talk to her about, like, hey, after an FAQ drops, or a new taboo, do you want to come on the show and go over each one? Because I personally would find that fascinating. I'm not sure if everyone would, but
No, that was my first thought. Is like, well, then what are the podcasts going to talk about then? if all of the accompanying thoughts are shared.
just bring her on the podcast. But yeah, like I don't know if FFG wants to have a 5,000 word essay on their article. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure Maxine could write that much about when going across each card. So I don't know, and also the time required, right? Like you only have 40 hours in a week, and you have so much to do. Is writing comments about each card a use they want to put her time to? So I would like it just for more info, because I always want more. Same thing there, Scott. And I would be especially interested in that fourth category, for which ones the community clamored for. Because if that is truly influencing the decisions on that list, then maybe that's part of the list where I'm less likely to apply it. If it's less of a pure design decision and more people were, I guess, just speaking up about it. But I'm also a person who, if the community is going to be that loud about it, unless it's breaking the game and I'm not enjoying it, I just won't play it. And again, that's a personal choice, so I want to be clear there. Yeah. But despite the fact I would love to have more of the info, this starts triggering the lawyer brain in the back of my mind. Not for actually any legal reasons, but it's more
messaging reasons.
Well, right, you leave that paper trail of the reasons. Then if you ever have to change, let's say it was, well, hey, we previously identified this as it was too good in most cases, but then we need to change it because of the community clamoring for it. If you ever make a change that maybe the rationale isn't correct, then it sets a precedent that people point at. And so that trips the part of my brain where I would love to see it, but I also respect why they wouldn't do it other than the selected things in the article, just so they don't get painted into a corner. Yeah.
Well, I think it's an interesting conundrum, because on the one hand, from the player's side, when a card that you adore gets suddenly restricted by this taboo list, not naming anything in particular here, it's close to my heart. Yeah. I can absolutely understand people reaching for why, you know? Okay, so better example that's not current and fresh and a gaping wound in my soul is the Necronomicon. So when that hit the taboo list, I had not even played with that card yet. And then, suddenly, what was the first taboo on that? They changed it to, 10 XP. They made it exceptional or something. Yeah. So, suddenly this card that I hadn't even tried yet, I mean, it looked fine, but whatever. Suddenly it's on the list, really intense. Basically the same thing that was done to the Key of Ease, which at the time was, the most, was the most strict adjustment on the taboo list.
Yeah. Well, it still is. It's still exceptional.
But we've seen more do that. But anyway, I completely understand wanting to reach for why. I do wonder, though, if the why isn't satisfactory, does it make you feel better? Or does the why actually help? You'll see emotional reactions to these sorts of things sometimes. I don't know if anyone's gone off on this FAQ. But I don't know. It's one thing to have the cards out there and have those out there for comment and have your design itself out there for critique. And it's another thing, it's another step farther to have your thoughts on your design and your philosophy out there, and then have that also added to the place of, to added to critique, and also in a space where people might not be fair or charitable, because I don't know, taboo kind of the FAQs tend to elicit some emotions from people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I would be curious to see, because I doubt we would get this actually from FFG. I would be curious if the community would be able to crowdsource something like this, right? So we take the current taboo list and see if we can come to any type of consensus around where the different taboo rules would fall. And I want to be clear, I'm not volunteering to spearhead that. But I know that wouldn't be as official, but I wonder if that wouldn't fill at least 80% of what the ask is looking for, of trying to maybe identify some of the ones where it's clear cut. Yeah, that card was going to be a problem, especially with new player cards hitting the table. It makes sense. Versus, wow, these are on here purely because of edge cases and they didn't want to break the game. I'm not playing it that way anyway, so I'll just play.
I think based on my connection with loving jank and always like keeping my finger on the pulse of weird ways to use cards, I'm quite confident I could probably go through this entire list and tell you exactly why things are put on there. Like, every card I see, I'm like, oh yeah, that's, Eucatastrophe. That's because of its use in Yorick. You know what I mean? Pennant of the Queen, that's Mandy. Rook, that's Mandy. Let's see, what else? Necronomicon, probably Mandy. Like, yeah.
Mandy was a problem child, wasn't she?
Yeah, and like when we go to the FAQ, I think we can have a bigger discussion on that and like the philosophy behind banning and stuff like in card games in general, because I think I listened to a podcast once where it was Mark Rosewater, from the guy who does Magic the Gathering, like he's the lead designer or whatever. And I mean, the guy's been running Magic for like 15 years and has had to ban cards in a competitive game where there's like tens of thousands of dollars at play. And so like the weight of the idea of banning cards, the way he comments on it, I think is very interesting and holds some weight and experience to it. So, but I'll save that for when we get into the FAQ.
Interesting.
Chaos fan, prove it, Scott. I mean,
anyway, this was a great question.
Yeah. Because I do think that there's certain cards like Double or Nothing being forbidden. I mean, unless you're abusing it, it's probably an okay card. Like, there's ways to absolutely break the game with Double or Nothing. But if you're just including it as a neat card to, make one test pretty successful, okay.
And see, I'll probably just include that one, even though I know it, purely because I'm not at the level where I would be able to break the game with it.
That's the thing too. Like, there's a lot of cards on the list that, like Big Kahuna is saying, like it's just this top 5%. Well, I shouldn't say top 5%. 5% of the community who is like, plays quite a bit and knows the nuance of certain rules and how they can bend certain things, and that's where some of these come from to prevent the abuse that can happen. But I do think that's like when Maxine and FFG and Jeremy look at the community, they are also only hearing the part of the community that's vocal. People who are on forums, on Discords, on Facebook, whatever, involved in that sense, right? And so there's people who are, the silent majority or whatever, but there's a lot of people who just, might listen to a podcast, maybe not, and just don't involve themselves in a bigger community. And so Maxine and then wouldn't necessarily hear or see that. So the perspective that even we have on the community is biased towards the people who are really involved. And the people who are most involved are probably the people who are going to be most likely to play sometimes more optimum decks or find a weird combo that works together, etc. So that requires a taboo to manage it.
Yep. And it allows us to find that like half of 1% of gamers that are the ones that find the game-breaking combos and then complain about the game-breaking combos.
And remove the encounter deck from the game.
They're just the most special of gamers.
Hey man, I have a soft spot in my heart because I absolutely love that shit. I mean, I
always
want to play it
complain
once.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there's something there, though, that it would be interesting to know just purely like this adjustment was made for balance or to break a game-breaking combo or to bring it back in line with the power curve or, just kind of like what I don't know. There's probably a reasonably finite number of reasons that those changes get made. It'd be
Yeah.
interesting to know.
So maybe the categories are: this one is because of a specific combo that breaks something. This one is because it's part of multiple quote unquote overpowered combos. This one is to just line things up with balance, and this one is to stop it from overcrowding deck imagination. Because I know Maxine has said that before, right? Like, just Milan has. Well, I mean,
Machete.
yeah, right. Like, everyone took Machete, so let's put on the
Let's put on that 1 XP that makes you forget it exists.
just banish
And
it into
it
the ether.
worked.
Yeah. Now I gotta go, back into my bike spokes and find all those Machete cards.
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I appreciate that we do get the thoughts from the design team that we traditionally have, in the article where they release. And I think ultimately, like, that's the level of transparency they want. If they want to talk about something, that's where they'll talk about it. And I don't know. I guess everything else is for us to surmise.
Yep.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks, Big Kahuna. That does it for our voicemails. We did get correspondence via electronic mail, though, this last time.
An electronic mail.
It was delivered by an electronic pigeon. All right, so this is from Leander. Subject, why Mind Whip should be forbidden. I think that was just a typo for Mind Wipe, but... hi, guys. Let me first start by telling you how much I appreciate the podcast. Gonna miss Nick, but hey, exciting news. Nick, if you're reading this, good luck, man. Truly loved your energy. I'll pass the message along. Now, the meat of this message, why Mind Wipe should be forbidden. Take a look at Terror of the Stars, the Forbidden Peaks version, for example. Imagine playing a 4-player game. Terror of the Stars spawns at a certain point. Playing Mind Wipe will reduce it to a 0-3-0 enemy. All right, because that's the one with the variable stats, the X stats. So first action, Mind Wipe, and I think Mind Wipe is fast, so there's that. Second action, Azure Flame. Third action, normal attack. Dead Terror. Pity you won't get the victory points, though. Now, let Scott explain why this isn't possible. Good luck, guys.
Non-elite.
Yep.
That elite clause, man. That is... Although, yeah, the one with the X. Yeah, it's elite. Terror of the Stars, Bringer of Ice and Death. It is not elite. That is the... I think it's... Yeah, it's the first one that shows up.
Wait, that one legit is not elite?
Yeah, Monster Eidolon. And then it gains elite in the other two. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
well, there's that. So that does work.
Well, but it doesn't have the variable... well, it gets +3 health. So
it takes the health down.
yeah, it could take the... Like, in a 4-player game, that's 12 health. It leaves it with 2. But again, you don't get the victory point. But I mean, it's only 1 victory point to take off 12 health. Would you pay 1 experience for an event that says exile this thing, but also do 12 damage once in a 4-player game?
I feel like you want me to say no, so I'm going to say yes.
Oh no, I'm just saying, like, that. It sounds like a good value to me. So, yeah. Like, yeah. Wow, yeah. One cost, fast, 1 XP, exile, deal 12 damage in a 4-player game, or deal 3 per investigator damage.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yep.
Mind Wipe is one of those cards where I feel like it's got very niche uses where it's amazing.
Yeah.
And then,
it is either a -2 out of 10 or it's a 10 out of 10. There is no in between.
Would you say that a certain 5% of the players use it?
I'm actually expecting at some point Mind Wipe will be like added to the taboo list to be brought up at some point.
I don't know.
Faster than brought down, anyway.
I think it is a cute card that is fun, and it has those niche uses. But, and yeah, Sage Penguin says in chat, yeah, the real cost of this is having Mind Wipe be in your deck. Which, I mean, is a cost for every card, but I understand what you're saying. I think Mind Wipe is more useful than I think we give it. I think it's one of those cards that everyone loves to kick, It's the meme of the year, although Mind Wipe's kind of been a meme for a while. Uh,
Oh, that was in the core set, wasn't it? OG Mind Wipe was a core set upgrade.
was it?
Yeah, I think that's why it persists so long.
No.
Yep.
Is
I'm
it
pretty
core set?
sure.
Oh
I
my
had-
god, it's core set. Yep.
I had to
Yeah.
look it up.
I thought it was Dunwich.
And when did the upgraded one come out? TFA?
Return to Night of the Zealot.
Return to Zealot.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I think Mind Wipe is more useful than we give it, but the use it gives is minor compared to other things, except when it really hits, like on the
Yeah.
what's the Dunwich scenario with the big beasts?
Undimensioned and unseen.
Yeah, that this just breaks that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, no, it doesn't break it, trivializes it. But yeah,
Right.
So yeah, I guess we got to keep Mind Wipe off the taboo list. I guess it won't be forbidden yet.
All right. Well, a big thanks to everyone who called and wrote in. We appreciate hearing from you guys. So just a quick reminder again, for any reason you'd like, please call in to 203-493-6984. But especially for the next couple episodes, if you've got a house rule that you or your group plays with, we want to hear about it. So 203-493-6984 or email us at mythosbusterspod@gmail.com. All right. Scott,
Oh,
it's time.
is it? It's time for you to get fat.
Yes, the dolphin!
I forgot how ridiculous that is.
Oh my god, yes.
The Morgul
Paying-
dolphin.
Paying homage to the Morgul dolphin, the OG.
Oh, okay. Anyways, the FAQ came out, as you can tell by the incredible stinger and intro we have here. What I liked about this one as well is I think this is the longest explanation article we've gotten, and to Big Kahuna, Big Kahuna's voicemail, there's some more explanation, which I really like. It's not every card, but and Maxine goes over errata and when they choose to errata things, and for the most part, erratas tend to be very functional things. So to make sure that they're worded correctly, so Storm of Spirits, Mark 1 grenades, both receive minor changes to their damaging effect in order to allow them to combo with other cards as intended, such as marksmanship. And it's stuff that usually most players won't even realize the difference. But as she says, but it is more technically correct, which as we all know is the best kind of correct. So I appreciate that as one of those. This is for the rules lawyers, right? Who are going over every word, and single words make differences, which I'm also one of those people. I love rules lawyering because it gets you really weird things in games like this.
One of which is not bitches.
True. Yeah. Hollowed Mirror, Occult Lexicon, Miss Doyle, again, just all kind of rewording slightly. I think everyone played this correctly, where it's like when things were removed from game, but if they with something that was bonded, but the bonded item came back into play, those cards would also be able to come back and play. But they shouldn't have been removed from the game. They should have been set aside. I forget how they word it, but it works. Stick to the plan, got a one-word fix, and this was to attach the cards face down, and this because there was just some slight ambiguity with Sean, what's that card you like? It's an event, it's Guardian, 2 costs, and it's next time you take damage or horror, discard this to cancel it or whatever.
Delay the inevitable.
Delay the inevitable.
So like how you can describe literally every single thing about the card except its title.
Choke slamming the beast up against the wall. Yeah, and it's fast too. Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I am bad with names. Okay.
Combat and an agility icon.
Yeah. Released in this set. It was released in the scenario with the guy in the thing. Yeah. So the issue was that it was attached to Stick the Plan, but it was face up. So is it technically in play? Did you have to pay the upkeep cost of 2 resources every round or whatever it is?
Interesting.
So just something super simple, right? It just goes face down instead of face up. The biggest one and this came from, there was what are they called? No pun included, I think they're called. They're a board game review video series people, very similar to Shut Up and Sit Down, and they're also British. So
Sure.
and a few other people in the community, and the use of the term lunatic in the Patha Carcosa. And just its old language, and as far as like sensitivity goes towards mental illnesses and how it has been used before, like lunatic isn't quite,
It's pejorative.
yeah, right,
It's straight pejorative.
yeah. And so there's been changes made there, and if you buy the new re-released Patha Carcosa in the big box, everything will be errated to exclude that. But it has absolutely no gameplay effect. So if you still have the old cards, like, you can still play the game. If you get the new cards with the old campaign guide, that's the only time you'll maybe have to figure out which way to go, because some things are just named differently. But really, it's just, getting rid of a pejorative term. So,
Yep.
And then rules. I'm just going to jump to the FAQ. I'm going to stop reading the article because I can go through the FAQ with this. I think the errata was the part I kind of want to cover.
Okay.
Any questions so far, gentlemen? Sorry, I know I'm burning through this.
No, you're good. I mean, okay, so just a quick comment about the Carcosa thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the argument could be made that, like, okay, well, the language was the language used at the time, and yeah, fair enough, but I'm glad that they're willing to just not get embroiled in the semantic argument and use better language, to be honest.
And you know what else didn't happen? Like, what else is different from that time is, other words that were used to maybe describe some of the investigators. So maybe let's not use the 1920s as a compass for how we should use words in our current language of our current games, right?
H.P. Lovecraft was the most morally straight person that has ever lived, and clearly everything in the mythos has to adjust to that worldview.
Yes, of course. And I think this is one of the great things about Arkham is it is so inclusive, and basically Maxine, the rest of the FFG team, who've done like all the board games and stuff, has basically taken the awesome stuff that H.P. Lovecraft made and the mythos and all that stuff, and then stripped it of all its absolute shit and racism and hate, and made an awesome inclusive game and an awesome inclusive universe. So, yeah. And
what's interesting about that is that, okay, and this is like getting way into the weeds. We need to immediately pull up after this,
okay.
But I think it's more interesting to include marginalized people, or people from marginalized groups rather, in a Lovecraftian game, because like the entire theme of Lovecraft is alienation. Like that's what it is. So the reason like Lovecraft Country was so popular and like kind of was a really cool setting was because you give it a human lens that we can actually understand, and suddenly it takes on a new weight. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on the thing. Pull up.
Okay, so going through a couple of the errata. Permanents. Once added to your deck, permanent cards cannot be removed from your deck or swapped out of your deck unless explicitly stated otherwise. So some people have asked, like, hey, can I somehow upgrade out of some permanent I bought or whatever? No, you cannot.
Did you read the keyword?
Yeah. It's
Can
permanent.
I jump in there?
Yeah.
Talk to me about a use case about that, or like why someone would ask that. I struggle with that.
I'm trying to think of a permanent that you wouldn't want to continue having. Let me come back to that.
Underworld
Justin.
support. Like, say you start your deck with Underworld support.
Yeah. Oh, geared up.
And
yep.
Yeah, like any of those ones that just like start and they give you a restriction for a bonus, right? Or it's kind of like a give and take. And later on in the campaign, after you've accumulated some experience, suddenly that's not of benefit to you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You don't get to just like opt out.
Miskatonic university funding or archaeology funding. Maybe it's not working out for you and you're like, oh, I don't want that restriction anymore. It's like, too bad. I mean, of course, you could just like...
Get fact.
Down the rabbit hole. That's a perfect one, right? Like, so it gives you XP to upgrade things with the same title, but once you've upgraded all those, if you could somehow get rid of it and then buy cards at their normal cost because it adds a cost if you're not upgrading them.
Sure.
So you could use the advantage and then get rid of it, and yeah. So basically, it locks you in.
Okay. No, thank you. That's helpful to me because for that piece of it, I wanted to initially read that as just tidying up some stuff, but then I couldn't think of any use cases for it. So that's helpful.
Yeah, and it mostly is tidying up because we couldn't think of any way there was no way to upgrade out of those. You know what I mean? But this one just kind of puts a period on it and says you absolutely cannot. And then going into card errata, all of the Seeker side quests got upgraded to have researched on them instead of this card must be upgraded from a previous card named such and such. And yeah,
Wouldn't that be nice?
yeah. So they made a keyword for it, and yeah, now there's a keyword for it. Tons of stuff that they removed.
And that
Lunatic from.
they had applied that for Edge of the Earth, right?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yep. Also, the term lunatic is being changed to possessed, which I think also was kind of the idea. Like we all saw it as they're calling them lunatics because they don't understand that they are possessed by something, right? Like it's not a mental illness; it's the man in the yellow mask possessing them and causing things. So just made that more explicit. So this was a really quite a red FAQ because I always use red ink. Let's see. Geared up. So this got changed to one at a time play items out. This is important for backpack because with geared up originally, because you're just playing, it says play, I have to read it, but basically you would play things all at once. And so backpack wouldn't trigger until you were done doing your geared up phase, if you will. And then you get your backpack out, and then your turn ends because you have no actions to do anything else. So now this allows you to play backpack, search your top 6 or 9, grab things, then you can play the things you just found on backpack for geared up as well. So it makes geared up better. And I think it makes it work how most players would think it would work. Would you guys think it would work that way? I don't know.
That was my instinct.
Yeah. So going into terms and rules changes, basically they have really quadrupled down at this point. An investigator cannot play another's investigator's signature cards, control another investigator's signature cards while they're in play, or possess another investigator's signature card in their hand. Basically, everyone.
Stop it now! Yeah. Stop! Is what that says.
Because at first it was you can't have control of it. Okay, but can they play one using this, or can it go into their hand, or can it's just no.
Black market was one, wasn't it?
Yeah, black market was for sure one.
Oh, black market! Yeah. You're so silly. You're such a silly goose.
Father Mateo got a pretty huge nerf here.
Oh no!
Yeah, because an investigator with an ability that occurs at the beginning of the campaign or a deck creation, such as Father Mateo's bonus experience, it does not trigger a second time upon transferring that investigator to a new campaign. So Sean, for your campaign trauma run.
Let's see here. I'd have to get through Agnes, Jim, and Akachi before I'd hit Mateo. So I don't know. Maybe it'll matter.
Yeah. I think that applies to 1% of the players, if not less.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very popular way to play. We've talked about it, and I see people talk about it, but the amount of people who say, "Hey, I'm doing this," I don't see it very often. So, but again,
I feel by the time you finish a campaign, if nothing else, you're just ready to play a new deck. So rules aside, you're just all right, cool, done.
I want to play a new deck without 6 trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One really interesting change here. So this is another rule change. They've introduced another area of the game, if you will, limbo, or if
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. So when you
they've made purgatory a thing.
Yes. Which is really important because there's a number of interactions, because this wasn't clearly defined as where the card was when it was committed or where an event is when you start to play it, and then you take an attack of opportunity, because that was the big one, because there's that one enemy in, I think it's Dunwich, where when it attacks you, it discards a card from your hand. But what if you're going to start playing a card and that triggers an attack of opportunity, and then it discards the card you were going to play?
Ooh.
Right? Like it kind of, yeah. So there's just some clearing up. So it's limbo. Basically, anytime you play an event or commit a card, when it's being, it's in this liminal state called limbo. And an event card enters limbo during step 3 of the initiation sequence, after costs are paid and attacks of opportunity are made. So what this is saying, so if you go to play an event...
I thought you were making a joke. The text literally says liminal state is called limbo.
Yeah,
That's
no.
amazing.
Yep. It is. I know Maxine just loves the word liminal. And the important thing about this too, as far as skill cards, because there's some that say... I should finish this thing with the enemy. So if you were going to play an event that would trigger an attack of opportunity, and this enemy, if it attacks you, it randomly discards a card, it can discard the event you're trying to play.
Oof.
Because step 3 is when it enters the liminal space. Step 1 is paying costs. Step 2 is attacks of opportunity. Step 3 and on is it doing things. So the other thing with skill cards is I know there's skill cards like this where things are based off the number of cards in your hand. And so is that skill card in your hand while it's committed, but because it's not in your discard pile yet. So it really clarified things. And I think for the most part, everyone was already playing like this. We just now have rules that define it in a box. You know what I mean? The people who care will go read more about Limbo. So, moving on. Shifting slots. This is already kind of, I think we understood this, but what this is clarifying is when you have a card in a slot and when you play something down, you have to choose the slot that it's going into, in case you have slots that can hold 2 different things, or you have multiple slots for whatever.
Sure.
What this is saying is once something is in a slot, you can't rearrange slots until you gain slots, lose slots, or fill a slot. Okay. So if you have, let's say,
every time you fill a slot, you can shift what is in what slot.
You can shift everything in every slot. So,
Daddy,
yeah, So like this is gonna, I think Mystic is a big one with the Raven that gives you an ally slot, a spell slot, and then you have Sign Magic, which turns a hand slot into a spell slot, and then you have the Mystic card, which turns an arcane slot into a hand slot that can only hold tomes.
The Hierophant. Oh no, wait.
No, it was in Harvey's.
Arcane Enlightenment. That's a secret card.
So, all those things. Whenever that gets, anytime like you would play one of those down, or one of those leaves play, or you just play out an asset, you can rearrange your slots. But you can't rearrange your slots in the middle of, swinging your dragon pole, for instance.
Sure.
And that, because it has to do with how many slots are filled.
Interesting. What do you know if there was a specific abuse of that before, or was this like a question that was asked and now it's clarified?
I think this one and also the Limbo one are just mostly like clarification. Like Limbo was introducing the idea of Limbo, but I mean everyone was playing that. This is just solidifying it. The shifting of slots, I think, is just is putting like end brackets on when you can move slots around, because I think most people played that way, but
yeah,
moving attachments. If an attachment moves from one game to element to another, it detaches from the first one and then attaches to the new one. I'm sure there's things like when something attaches to it, but anyways, I can't even think of an example of that, so let's ignore it. This one hurt me. Searching during setup. So if an investigator is instructed to search a deck for one or more cards...
I know what this is.
During setup, like let's say you have, was it Shocking... No.
Shocking Revelation.
No, what's
Astounding Revelation.
Astounding Revelation in your deck. Okay, and then you also have Stick to the Plan in your deck. Abilities that trigger when a deck is searched, such as Mandy Thompson's reaction ability or abilities on research cards, cannot be resolved as the game has not yet begun. I hate this ruling, and I reject the premise because that was one of my favorite interactions in the entire game.
You did like it.
I really, really liked it.
Straight up 2 free resources every game.
Yeah, and 1 less card in your deck. It's deck thinning. It was great. It was worth the 6 XP. So,
yeah.
Anyways, I'm trying to find other ones that are a little bit more interesting because there's like the difference between draw and add to your hand. If something is added to your hand, you didn't draw it.
Okay.
That's just because, like when you draw this or whatever, if it's added to your hand, yeah.
Things that react to things having been drawn.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So, farthest from all investigators. This one always confused me because there was older rules about calculating, like, if there's a tie for locations, there's a secondary way to find things. The farthest location.
Did not know about that.
Yeah, I know. And this is another, like, this is the thing with FAQ. I think there's some things that are just so in the weeds that most players don't care about. Like the farthest from all investigators. I mean, if you have 2 locations that are tied, they're probably tied for a reason because they're, on either ends of you guys, like of your group, and it doesn't really matter, right? So like the minutia on how to decide that isn't really important. But now it's the farthest from all investigators. This is determined by finding the location with the highest combined distance from each investigator. So sometimes when it's like, it's 2 away from this investigator and 2 away from that one, so those are the farthest ones. Now you just like basically, okay, between those 2, like let's total up the number of moves to get everyone to that one, and whichever one's farthest. So
which makes sense,
yeah,
because it's
that is the
aggregating the distance, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I dig.
The term different is different cards are cards with different titles, excluding subtitles.
So, okay. So, and that was my next question. The example is like, all right, well, how about levels? So, if they have the same title but different levels, they're still the same card.
They are, yeah. So, Ward of Protection is the example given. Ward level 0, 2,
use that
and 5.
to your advantage.
I think that one is just clarifying. I'm not sure. The other thing this refers to, as far as different, is different actions or different abilities. This goes along with we discussed this on the show. Lily and the agility one where you can do 3 different fight actions, and Sledgehammer. So 3 different actions. The actions on a Sledgehammer, those are different, but the triple action on 2 different Sledgehammers are the same. So you can't do the double Sledgehammer with Bandolier helicopter attack anymore.
Oh, damn.
Maxine's just taking all my fun away, okay? I'm just really upset about this. Only as your first action. So it can only be taken as your first action during your turn. Specifically during your turn. So it cannot be like from The Stars Are Right, that bonus action that you get. You couldn't play Scene of the Crime, for instance.
Got it. Okay.
If it is fast, like how you can make an event fast when it doesn't normally have fast, or ignores its action cost or takes place outside of your turn, it cannot be played or triggered. So if somehow you make it so that Scene of the Crime is now fast, you can't actually play it because it needs to be an action.
Okay. That is one I've run across before, in particular with Parallel Roland. And okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it's really just the card as written. You just have to listen to all the words.
Yeah, pretty much. It has to be your action. Yeah. They've introduced the silver rule. So the golden rule. Because the golden rule is if a card ever contradicts the rules, you go with the card, because cards make new rules, right? That's how card games work. The silver rule is if the text of 2 cards directly contradict one another in a way that's impossible to reconcile, the encounter card takes precedence over player cards.
That is unsurprising.
Yeah. If they're both encounter cards or both player cards, lead investigator decides which one takes precedence. So you can make it work the way you want.
Maxine's loyalty is noted.
Yeah. So treachery cards do not have a header for their subtitle. If there's something in brackets, that is their subtitle. So like there was those hidden cards, like voices in your head, and had brackets. That's their subtitle. I don't even know why that's important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, Diana Stanley.
What?
Diana Stanley's ability typically interacts with events in limbo or other cards that may or may not be in play. As such, Diana Stanley's ability can be triggered even if that card is currently in limbo or in the discard pile.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I got worried there.
He got real worried. You could hear
I know.
it.
I could hear the sweat.
And I had been playing this way for a while. I think I'd asked Maxine at some point about, in particular, grotesque statue. Was my question. If you use Diana's ability on the last charge of grotesque statue, grotesque statue says when it's free of charge or done with charges, you put it in the discard pile. And yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Love it. Welcome to playing Diana correctly, everyone.
Yeah. Lola, when you resolve Crisis of Identity, and a discarded card is a multi-class card, you get to choose which one of those two you go to.
Ooh.
Yeah. And if no card is discarded because your deck is empty, your roll stays the same and is not switched.
Oh, interesting. How has that just come up now?
I think with the...
Was no one playing Lola at all during TCU?
I think people were, but I just
That
think,
seems-
like, there was only, 5 multi-class cards?
Yeah, I suppose.
Right? Like, and now there's, like, a boatload. A box load, if you will. All right, there's a bunch of other questions being asked, but I'm going to skip all those because we're going to go to the taboo list because I think this is going to be where our biggest discussion is. Because I'm quite frankly tired of just reading a page. So
That's fair.
and I'm sure people would love to hear from both of you as well. So Chained, there is a certain David Renfield.
Hey, Scott.
Sean, yes.
Scott, let's actually jump. Just in case people are sort of catching up with Taboo for the first time, do you want to remind people what Chained is and then Mutated
for
and
sure.
such?
Also, Taboo is optional. That is stated right at the top. So you don't have to use Taboo. In fact, there's like if you are newer to the game and maybe you only have one campaign or a couple campaigns as far as the cards go, you probably don't need Taboo. Like Taboo is for the people who have full play set, have probably played through every campaign probably twice, and are looking to spice it up a bit and whatnot. So there's 3 things that can happen to a card. It can be chained or unchained, which means it raises the XP cost or lowers the XP cost. Does not change the level though, so that's key. If something is a level 0 card and it gets chained with 3 XP, it is not a 3-level card or level 3 card. It's just a card that costs 3 more experience. That's important for deck building rules. Mutated means they are changing the text on the card, kind of like an errata, and they try to make it in like the most simplest change possible, so it's easy to remember. And then forbidden is you just cannot include that card in your deck, and there's only one card in there. It's double or nothing. Sean, continue your
now it's nothing.
Your gnashing of teeth.
So when I was talking about Big Kahuna's message from earlier, this was my own personal experience that I was bringing into that perspective, because I heard about this and immediately I was like, why? Just what? Like, okay, I have been waiting for literal years for people to come around to David Renfield being as good as I believe him to be. And, I feel like I've gotten some converts here and there, right? Like, I think not too many people are as over the moon for him as I am. But, like, he's easy. Like, he's an easy one to include. He gives you, like, good stat boost, super good. He's just a great card. Yeah. Fantastic card. I guess I don't understand why this knife is in my back, Maxine. Tell me why.
I believe in the article she mentions that Renfield, except for next, like there's some interactions with the Scarlet Keys. They're worried
the
about
stuff that Amina's doing.
Yeah, were cards in the thing, and like they basically kept their cards close to their chest. But there's like just trust us on this one. But
Okay, so chained ahead of time
yeah,
for crimes not yet committed. So then, ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves in the same ethical and mental conundrum as the story and movie Minority Report, wherein a crime might in some time in the future be committed, but has not been committed yet. But yet, David Renfield is being held accountable for that action.
David
Right.
Renfield, played by Tom Cruise.
He literally looks like Tom Cruise's angry little brother.
yeah.
I'm into it.
I will be curious to see if this sticks the next taboo update, because I get why they're trying to play it safe ahead of time, right? But maybe it walks back a little depending on how things go.
But also, this will be the first taboo that I ignore because, like, I've been a stan forever, and I use him in decks that aren't abusing him, and he's just there doing normal things. And I've used him in a couple decks that actually try to do something with him. And like, Doom's a thing.
Yeah.
It's not like you can, at this point, I guess, completely negate
At this point,
the threat of Doom.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the key part there is at this point, right?
Okay. Well, again.
You
Would have preferred David got punished after said crimes were committed, but I guess that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, okay, how about this? Don't use the David Renfield taboo until the Scarlet Keys are out. How about that?
How about I don't use it after the Scarlet Keys are out too?
Okay, sure.
I'm just hearing Sean saying "Tell me why," but from the Backstreet Boys song, I want it that
Tell
way,
me why.
and a little angrier. But
Ain't nothing but a dirty nerf. Tell me why. Oh, okay. Well, log that for the musical episode.
Yeah,
there
I'll
we
do
go.
that. I'll do that shit in a hot second.
Why? But why David got chained? I don't know. Anyways. All right. Unchained.
Why
So,
did Renfield need chains?
chaining. Anyway, okay. Musical episode later. But one thing we also got in here is, so Maxine noted in the article that some of the boosts that they've given were well received. Like what was the gun they minused experience from?
The Springfield.
Springfield? Why is it not here? So Springfield. So with Signum Crucis, and Rite of Equilibrium, both of those got -2 experience. So now Signum Crucis is actually a level 0 card, where you can take it at deck creation. That is the
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the survivor skill. I'm going to kind of quickly read it over because I don't know how many people will remember it. But it's commit only to a skill test you're performing, and it only if the difficulty of that test is higher than your base skill value. After you commit it, add X blessed tokens to the chaos bag. X is the difference between the difficulty and your base skill. So basically, Calvin can take this at level 0, and that's the biggest thing I can think of. I think the 2 XP really held it back, and so I kind of totally get it. Rite of Equilibrium. I believe that was that the 5? Yeah, the 5 XP one where it's Mystic. Either add X curse tokens to the chaos bag to add X blessed tokens to the chaos bag, or remove X curse tokens and X blessed tokens from the bag, and heal a total of X horror from among cards at your location. It was pretty niche, and also level 5 is just, that's a big ask.
It was.
Yeah.
I played it in one deck and it worked, but I wouldn't pay 5 for it again. So I'm very, very into these chains.
Yeah. Jeremiah Kirby got +2 XP.
Really?
Yeah, this one surprised
What
me a
did
bit.
he do that we couldn't see coming?
Draw 5 cards, I guess.
What?
So here's the thing. He is a level 0 card that, I mean, level 0s can be splashed so easily in so many decks, and apparently there was some issues with basically people looping their decks in 1 to 2 turns with even
Of
cards.
course. Isn't that what it always... He's
It's- yes.
degenerates. That is what it always comes down to.
Yeah. It's always
Get out.
looping. It's always looping. Every time. And then Janae Beauregard. I mean, do we have to talk
That
about
doesn't
this?
surprise me.
Yeah,
It's
she's
not
pretty good.
surprising, but it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, to both.
Yeah. That's fair. So mutated. So these are the ones where the text is slightly changed. Ritual Candles, Jewel of Aureolus, and Voice of Ra. These cards now read a symbol instead of the list of the indicated symbols. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Yep.
Any symbol?
Yep.
Just a symbol.
Bless, curse, frost tokens, and all the usual symbols.
Interesting.
Yeah, Voice of Ra just got real good in blessed decks
Yeah.
or in curse decks. Or in most decks.
I will occasionally run Jewel of Aureolus in decks that are just like pulling symbols, and it's okay. But like any symbol, you can trigger that on a. Can you trigger it on a tentacle now? I don't think you can do a tentacle now.
It's a symbol, but yeah.
No, I mean currently before the taboo.
Oh yeah, you could. Yeah, on Jewel you could.
Jewel is tentacle. Okay.
Yeah, it was reaction after whatever, draw a card or gain 2 resources after you draw a token with a picture on it.
Got it.
Yeah. And Ritual Candles in a blessed deck. Now your blesses are +3, or your curses are only -1.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
bigger,
Yeah.
especially for Mystic.
Yeah.
That's huge for the curse spell suite.
Mm-hmm. And
Like, that'll make a huge difference.
Ritual Candles in Edge of the Earth. Your frost tokens are now 0. Reveal another token.
Ah,
Yeah.
eat it, Frost, by the heat of my little candles.
By these tiny little candles. If you draw 2, it still fails though. But hey, at least you got that 0, right? Strange Solution, Acidic Ichor went to +1 damage instead of +2.
That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I
haven't
yeah,
used that one in a while, but I think it's fine.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. That's fine. I think Acidic Ichor was slightly overtuned, but
Yes, agreed.
I think I would have been okay with it not changing, but also I'm fine with it changing.
Yeah.
So, Lola Hayes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say there's some stupid stuff you can do with like level 3 quiche to keep putting supplies on it, and like they're like you can just like have
Machine
3
gun
damage
assault.
actions to just like throw out all day, so I don't mind that one getting dialed back a bit.
Yeah. Lola Hayes. So
I'm
this-
sorry.
Yeah. Lola Hayes and Crisis of Identity. Sean, hold on to your pants.
Holding.
This card's forced ability is moved to its reverse side, and should instead read: additional setup after you draw your opening hand, choose a roll. This card's front side additionally gains action, switch rolls, does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So now you can change rolls. You have one fast thing of it, and now you have unlimited action switch rolls.
Oh.
So it kind of stops you from getting yourself into a hole. Like you can always switch mid-turn, even if you've used your fast one. This one, I'm like, okay. Like it allows you to play maybe 3 things from like 3 different classes in one turn. But Crisis of Identity, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
This card's revelation ability now reads: discard 1 card in your hand or play area of your current role. Then do all the normal stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Boy, doesn't that make a giant difference.
sure does. I am all up in Lola's grill now. So
I never have. I've never played Lola. Walk me
Yeah.
through why this is a big change.
Okay, so Crisis of Identity, you have 2 copies of it, 2 signature weaknesses. It used to be discard every card of your current role from your play area.
Okay.
So if you had like 3 Seeker assets out, it just wipes those off if you're in Seeker. So what this does is it allows you the issue that some people had, myself included, with Lola is that the weakness could just absolutely wreck your board state if it came up at the wrong time, and you had
Sure.
two copies of it in your deck. And
You
so
spent
now,
so much brain space
yeah,
maneuvering around the possibility that you might draw your weakness this turn. Like, that's what always turned me off of Lola, was that in particular.
mm-hmm.
I just didn't like how much real estate that specific thing took up.
So
But
now
that's
the fact,
amazing.
now the fact that you can discard a card from your hand and keep all your assets in play, like that's insane. That's so good. So it still stings a bit because you still have two copies, but I am all for this. So, but Sean, if you play this way with Lola, you have to. David Renfield has to have +3 experience because you got to take it all. Remember. Dark Prophecy.
I
You'll
just
like
won't
this
play
one,
Renfield in Lola then, I guess.
Guess not. You like this one, Sean. So Dark Prophecy, it got changed from the list of icons to a non-Elder Sign symbol. So
Damn.
choose
So
one
you can
token.
grab a Bless with Dark Prophecy?
Bless, a Curse, or a Frost as well.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
Counterspell.
unexpected.
This card now reads a non-tentacle symbol instead of
Oh.
those things. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can like hit a curse and just cancel it and be done.
That's, again, pretty good for curse builds going forward.
Yeah. I feel like Curse got more help in this FAQ than it did in Innsmouth.
Yep.
Just hot take. Just throwing it out there.
Hot agree.
Yeah.
We'll see where we land.
Mr. Rook. So he lost his chain. So he's back down to 0 XP. But his fast ability is now an action ability.
Interesting.
I am okay with this. Because of, I feel like it just kind of brings him better in line with other card search costs as far as how deep they go. And
Yeah, and he's 2 and 2 soak, right? Or
yeah,
is he 1 and 2?
pretty sure he's 2 and 2.
Interesting.
Yeah.
For a hard action and 3 secrets, I don't
Yeah.
know that I'll see him outside of Mandy.
Well, that's the thing. I think he belongs in Mandy now, and only like
He
'cause
belongs to Mandy now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna skip by Mandy just for now. I'm gonna go over the rest of the list, and then we're gonna come back to Mandy because I think that's where we're gonna have a good discussion. Flute of the Outer Gods. I never played it. This card loses exceptional keyword and gains limit 1 per deck. So it used to cost 10 XP. Now it's 5, but you can still only have
Cool.
1. Yeah. Although with all this other curse support, I don't know. maybe.
Yeah, it gets better.
Yeah, I'm willing to try it now. Prophesy Profana. This card's constant ability now reads, you get +1 intellect, +1 agility, and ignore the first attack of opportunity you take each turn. Sean, do you know what Prophesy Profana did? It's okay if you didn't, because I'm currently looking it up.
Was it each? The constant ability is you get +1/+1 and ignore the first.
Yeah, you
I
may
thought it was
ignore
each.
each. Like, you may
Yeah.
ignore attacks of opportunity.
Oof.
Yeah, so it just said you can't, like, ignore attacks of opportunity ad infinitum for the rest of the game. Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yep. Black Market. This card gains max once per round. Typical rogue nerf. Stopping people from using it 8 times per round, as some people were doing to wreck the game, which is totally fine in my mind.
They really just need to import the rule of 6 from Keyforge.
True. Yeah. I mean, that rule kind of makes sense.
Do it max
Yep.
6 times and call it. I mean,
Yep.
it doesn't have to actually be 6. I just wanted to talk about Keyforge, but
Yeah, that's fair. Eon Chart, both versions, it got changed from following actions to following basic actions. So you can
Perfect.
no longer, that
Perfect.
totally fine.
That's how I thought those cards were designed, and they're still good with that.
I saw some chatter on a couple channels where people were like, what? You could have done that? And it's like, yeah, like, oh, now I get why people loved it so much. Like, yeah. So this one's more fair, I think. Cyclopean Hammer. Basically, if you succeed by 3 or more,
What?
you may
The
exhaust.
hammer?
Yeah, I know. You may exhaust the hammer to instead deal +2 damage and move the enemy up to 2 locations away from you. So once per turn, you get +2 damage instead of +1, and you can do the move.
Okay.
Um,
Completely fair.
I like this gentle touch,
Yeah.
quite honestly,
Completely fair.
because I was even on the board of like, do we need to actually does hammer need an adjustment? I was like, yeah, probably, but just a bit is my view. I think this is
Just a light tap.
it is a 5 XP card. It should do 5 XP things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 5 XP double-handed weapon.
And it's thematic because you're tired from swinging the hammer.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also, the move ability is now mandatory. Like, so it's not +2
Oh,
damage.
if you deal the extra damage, the move is mandatory.
You
Okay, I
have to
like
move
that
them.
too.
Yeah.
That's more important than you might think.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Interesting.
move the enemy up to 2 locations away from you.
Ooh,
Can I move it up to 0 locations away from me?
Ew. All right, we need a new FAQ.
Yeah. Reprint this whole thing without Renfield on there.
Yep, please.
So Mandy Thompson, this is I love this. So Mandy has been an investigator that I think we can all at least somewhat agree on has been a little bit overtuned, and her ability to find things in a deck of 30 has shown to be quite is problematic the word? Probably problematic.
I'd say that's fair.
For the people who are doing these types of decks. Let's clarify with that too, because like same way, like going back to Big Kahuna's voicemail, this is for that, I don't know, 5% of people who are like, I want to build a Mandy deck with no taboo and just like rip through the deck. And I think it was Cadentia, and he was streaming, he was going through the depths of Yoth, and he was going through each depth in one turn. And like he got to the 5th depth on his 5th turn with Mandy, and he was cycling his deck like 1.5 times a turn. It was ridiculous. It involved the Necronomicon. It was a bonkers deck. It was really fun. I tried it once, and then I was like, I'm never doing this again. So anyways, Mandy now
If only
reads,
everyone had such restraint.
Mandy now reads deck size 50, and she gets 3 copies of Occult Evidence. So no more 30 or 40. It's only 50.
Oh, only thick Mandy, huh?
Only thick Mandy. So
Interesting.
the thought that I brought up from Mark Rosewater earlier is basically he said when you have a combo of cards, a combination of cards or multiple combinations of cards that are problematic, you need to find the core of that combo or the core of those combo, find that one card that is causing all of this and get rid of that card, not the other cards.
Right.
And I think what some of the previous taboos and stuff were like with Mr. Rook. Mr. Rook wasn't the problem, Mandy was in those cases.
Sure.
And I think that this to me feels like there was a lot of issues and Mandy was kind of in the middle of it, and they were trying to, I don't know, play around it, but ultimately Mandy was the one that needed a taboo. And I really like this one because she's more thematic. She's got 50 cards, but she's really good at searching.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Renfield for this?
No, I mean, I have a hard time a little bit with, because a lot of the stuff that Mandy was abusing were cards that ostensibly for your normal investigator would be hard to pull together or would take time and intention to pull together.
Yeah.
And that was kind of their cost, right? And then we do surprise Pikachu face when the investigator whose ability is I search better, searches better.
Yeah.
But that all being said, I do think that this is probably the best solution because it would make sense that the searching investigator has a big deck to search. I guess.
Yeah, and I forget who I was talking with on the Discord, but they brought up a really good point that now that Mandy is is mandated at deck size 50. Yeah, you like that?
It's mandatory.
Yeah.
There it is.
So now that she's at 50 cards, she has better search, but is that search enough efficiency-wise to combat the extra 20 cards in the deck? And this person posited that to find specific combinations of cards, you're probably better off with anyone else with a 30-card deck and just drawing more than searching. However, if you're just looking for a good card that does a certain thing, like a toolbox style Mandy, or toolbox style investigator, if you put enough of those different solution cards in your deck, Mandy is better in that sense, as she'll be able to find the tools you need in the moment a lot better than others.
Sure.
Which
would make sense that that's like the direction they want to push her.
Right. Like it makes sense that that's her thing to me.
So I have 2 follow-up questions with this one. So one goes back a little bit to Sean, what you were saying about it makes sense. She can search, so she's better at searching. Are we surprised? If you were someone coming into the game today, again, a new or newish player, and you'd not played Mandy or knew about her pre-taboo, and this was actually what was printed on her card, how surprised would you be? Like if you didn't know her as someone who had the options before.
No, I mean this would make sense to me. I think they kind of tried to do a cool thing with like the variable deck size Mandy, but I think this is way more in line with the design of most investigators, particularly the ones that I'm trying to think. So Safina and Lola. Safina has a fuck ton of draw up front, so it makes sense that her deck is bigger.
Yeah.
I think the argument is that Lola should have more draw because she'd have more access to draw. I don't know if it always works out that way, so whatever, she got a larger deck size. But if you're pushing an investigator toward tutoring, searching, it would make sense to me. So the answer is not surprised.
Okay. And then could you foresee this being a thing that in a future update to Taboo maybe drops down to live in the middle ground at 40? Or do you think this is just where she'll probably be?
I think she'll stay at 50.
Yeah, it would surprise me if, after they make this move, they lower her back down, because it's not like we're going to get less search in the game.
Sure.
And
so
the fact that she's also 5 intellect, like right out of the gate for a seeker, like that is a very significant stat too.
3s in defense, like she's got a solid ass stat line.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious with that because, again, knowing that she had the options before, if it's just, no, this is the mandatory version of Mandy, or if we would maybe see a shift because that had been out in the wild before.
This does make it kind of interesting, though. Like if you... when did Mandy come out? Was that Dream Eaters?
Yes.
So if you own just the core set and just Dream Eaters, can you make a legal taboo compliant deck?
Ooh.
Are there 50 cards you can put into Mandy? I think it might be quite close, and it would be
that's gotta be tight.
Yeah, like you would have to put all of them. She does get like 10 off class, so.
So Scott, my most important follow-up question is directly for you. Do you now have to say 30 good cards unless you're Mandy?
I mean, I guess so. Well, no, Mandy you choose 50 good cards, right? Lola, you choose 35 good cards.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. I care about your catchphrase and your feelings, so I had to check.
I think my catchphrase should now be X good cards. X equals deck size, just with an asterisk below. But I do like the sound of 30 good cards unless you're Mandy.
Yeah, catchphrases don't do so well with footnotes, it turns out.
Check appendice B.
We have to have our own taboo list for catchphrases.
I do have a certain Mandy deck that I'll be bringing to Arkham Knights that I'm very excited to play. It is a large Mandy deck. And Sean, I believe you've witnessed it.
I have. I have. It worked way better than it had any business working.
100% agree with you. I can't believe that it worked. And now with this taboo, I can actually put Mr. Rook in it because now I don't have to pay XP. So,
That's right.
Yeah, watch out.
It's
getting even
one
better.
copy.
Yep.
Man, I'm sad that I just completed a Mandy campaign because it's probably going to be a while before I pick her up again. But it's not going to be that different because I don't think I've ever played 30 deck Mandy.
You've never
Like
lived.
I'm always, well, I mean, I'm always that one where I'm like, yeah, okay, I could play 30 cards, and that's like probably Scott would tell me it's the most efficient, and I get that. But also, this investigator lets me not do that, so why would I not do that?
It all depends on what you want for fun, right? Like
Exactly.
I find efficiency fun. If efficiency isn't number one on your list for fun, then don't
Novelty, baby.
Then don't
Fucking
play 30
novelty.
card Mandy.
Yep.
Yeah. Right? Like play double thick Mandy. Go 50. Put
I
force
think I
learning
went
in there.
40 for this one.
Yeah.
Oh man, Mandy got the sled in Edge of the Earth, and that was amazing.
What does the sled do again?
The wooden sledge lets you search any investigator's deck for items and attach them to the sledge, and then people can play them from the sledge.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really good. That was probably my favorite turning point for Mandy in that campaign. So yeah,
Wow. That's pretty good.
would recommend.
So overall, I'm pretty happy with the FAQ and taboo list. I think the taboo hit cards that I think it should have, and at about the scale. I think again with you though, Sean, I am with Renfield. I'm like, well, I need to see what it's going to be. What do you think, Justin? What does this change for you?
This doesn't change much for me. Again, I don't get in as many games as I would like right now, but I mean, if anything, it might. Just looking through the list again.
Do you play with taboo usually, or do you?
I try
half ignore
to.
it, or- yeah?
No, I try to. I mean, I appreciate the time and effort they put into it, but I understand that you're supposed to play all or nothing with taboo. If I happen to fall behind on even knowing what taboo is, so I'm playing with 3 cards that have been tabooed or 4 that have, and I only know what 3 of them are, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I'm usually just happy to be playing. I'm not going to fault anyone who needs to have it purely to the letter of the law, because that is the best type of right.
Yeah.
But there was one on here. Just looking at the list again. Yeah, it might change. I guess I do really like Janae.
Yeah. And Janae,
that doesn't
like,
hurt
she's-
me as much as Renfield hurt Sean. But I mean, I think almost every deck I've built since Edge came out has had her in it, because I had so much fun in our face check playthrough where I was playing Monty with her.
well, and I think that's why she probably got the chain that she did, because I think a lot of people looked at her and just said, I mean, she is possibly the best ally you could take for a seeker or a rogue. Like, and so it crowded out deck building decisions in the same way that Milan did, where it's like you have to find a really good reason to not take Milan, rather than looking at a card pool of allies and deciding. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you look at Janae, it's like, well, if I can put her in my deck, why wouldn't I? And that's the kicker. And even at 5 XP, I think she's still very much worth it.
I think she's just incredible. But no, otherwise for me, the changes from this, I think I've only probably ever played with thicker Mandy decks. I think Sean even had built me one back when. I don't think I had played with Mr. Rook in between when he was released and then this taboo, other than a little bit. So I kind of missed out on the doom and gloom with him. And then now I'm curious to try Lola. It's not that I haven't wanted to play with her, but I think she did or does have a bit of a reputation, and hopefully this makes her more accessible for people.
That's gonna help.
Yeah, because I'm super intrigued. Having a neutral investigator like that is bonkers in a good way to me, and so yeah, hopefully I'll dive in a little more with that.
The hardest part with Lola now is, for me, getting a deck focused enough that I feel like it's a deck and not just like a smattering of cards that I threw in to Lola because it's Lola.
Yeah, because you can take
And that
every
one's
card.
on me.
Yeah.
Like, I have a hard time with focus when I have an investigator with like actual deck building rules.
With a 5/2 as opposed to 0 to 3 everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Well, excellent.
time to wait another year until I get another FAQ. It's my favorite time of year. Happens once.
It's the most wonderful time.
I like how this is the year where you're going to get to come hang out with us twice, and your favorite time of the year is when this drops. I'm definitely not hurt by that at all.
I mean, this is somewhat related to you guys, right? Kind of?
I'm sorry, did you take the XP off of Mr. Rook?
Well, I'm coming to see Maxine as well, so hashtag deal
true.
with it. You know.
So, kind of general. I mean, you guys talked about general thoughts, but like listening to the community reaction, I've been a little more disconnected the past little bit because of my job. But how are people responding to this? Are there people who are still like more hammer, nerf?
I think that it's kind of mixed. It's much more mixed now because there used to be the nerf it into oblivion and no it's fine group, and I think that almost all of the no it's fine group are okay with this taboo because it's such a light touch. And then there's still people who think that needed a heavier touch. But I think the like each end of the spectrum, they've moved closer together. You know what I mean? Like it's consolidated.
It's not a thing you see very often.
No. So, yeah.
Interesting. Would you say that hammer was the most impactful change here?
I think it might be Mandy.
Yeah.
I think Mandy and Mr.
I think
Rook.
Mandy and possibly Lola.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So Lola is pretty much, to me at least, a whole new investigator now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the changing of Crisis of Identity. Honestly, her extra action where she can switch roles, I don't even see myself remembering that, let alone using it, because I feel like that's pretty action intensive just to switch a role. And the fact that she has...
Yeah, but sometimes you might be glad you have the option.
Sure, sometimes, but I think that could have not happened, and Crisis of Identity gets changed, and
Right.
that was that's enough. So
I agree.
Yeah, the action is gravy on top. I don't think I'll use it much, but
I'm not going to count on using it, but it'll be a nice lever to have, occasionally when it's useful.
yeah.
What was your favorite change?
Can I say that it's like the whole suite of changing the list of symbols into any symbol?
Yeah, because that was going to be mine too.
Because that that whole suite of things that has changed how I'm going to view curse. Like I am going to go back and look at curse building and also blast building. So
Yeah, and I played around with them a decent amount, and I think I did. I've played more with curse than with bless, though. I think most of the teams that I played with two-handed, like one was doing one was doing the other, and I tried to complement where possible. But, ooh man, like what a boost specifically to Mystic cards! Like, I'm really gonna have to go back and see what Armageddon can do now. Armageddon me an idea for a new deck, I think.
oh my god.
I mean, between that and saying Cyclopean Hammer had the most impact, I think you're done.
Sorry, I'm like mentally circling the drain right now. It's all I have left.
I can feel the tentacles drawing us in.
That's right. Do we want to do a second tentacle time?
Yeah,
Was
we
that-
do.
Okay, all right.
You know what's funny is with this new, the way we're recording 2 episodes in one night and then dividing them, one of the first things I heard as feedback was there was no tentacle time at the end of the first one. Like,
Yeah, people said the sign off of side B was jarring because there was no tentacle time.
or side A, because we did it on B. Anyways, the one without tentacle time.
Yes,
So,
you're correct.
So, Sean,
Okay.
what's been
Well, let's
grabbing you since the last
what's-
time?
What's been grabbing me? Let's see. What else can I talk about? I really talked about most of it last time. I'll just talk about Marvel again, I guess.
Okay.
'Cause Marvel's fun. Really been working my way through. I've been trying to do the Galaxy's Most Wanted box, but like I'm starting to understand why people don't enjoy it so much.
Yeah, it's rough.
And like I've only heard vague rumblings, so I don't even honestly know what like the specific criticisms of that box are aside from it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm on the collector right now, the getting into the museum or whatever.
The second scenario
And
or third?
yes, second in the
okay.
campaign. Where he like anytime a card leaves play, he collects it and you can't let him get like 5 per player, and oh my god, it makes it such a slog to have to like take so many resources and actions to just like pull cards out of the collection and then still try to play the game. Oh, I've thrown in the towel on that one just out of pure boredom. Like I'm sure I could come up with decks that would actually beat it that don't discard a lot of cards from play, but goddamn.
Yeah.
My mistake for bringing the hero that they gave me in the box, whose ability is discard a thing from play.
Yeah.
Like, come
Gotcha.
on.
Got him.
See,
Yeah.
But beyond that, I've been having a good time. There's a really good like open source randomizer. And I've been having a good time just trying out other scenarios that I've played in the past with new and exciting mod sets, which I hadn't really done a whole lot of up to this point. So, yeah, I don't know. Very, very, very excited for the Mutant Genesis box to drop because it, from everything that I'm seeing, it looks like, well, and I can say this. I've talked Marvel with Caleb before, and I know he is a big part of that team. It is like made for someone who had my experience with X-Men.
Right.
I just could not be more excited about
that
it.
makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't.
Did it?
I wasn't allowed to watch that show because
Oh no.
my mother read in an article that it had the most deaths per minute on average of any kids show.
I mean that might be.
And so,
true.
based on that statistic, I was not allowed to watch X-Men. So, I watched it at my friend's house instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see who the other heroes in that cycle are going to be. Again, really, really pull in for like Leadership Storm. That would make my day. So, cross your fingers for me. But what do we have so far? We've got Colossus and Shadowcat in the box. We've got Cyclops and Phoenix releasing alongside. And then is Wolverine the only other one that's been teased?
I think so.
And those are all just like such no-brainers.
Have they done an article on Cyclops?
Yeah.
I think when they did the article on the box, I thought they also talked about Cyclops and Phoenix at the end of the article, basically saying the box and these 2 packs are coming out.
Yep.
Cyclops was my favorite as a kid. Partially
He seems like he's going to be fun.
Partially because his name was Scott. So. And also
Never hurts.
Giant super red laser out of your eyes. So sweet.
And I'm just trying to think, like, I don't know what X-Men's doing a whole lot nowadays, but like from the classic Clutch, which again, it seems like that's what we're going for. Maybe Nightcrawler,
Ooh.
maybe Beast.
I think either of those would be really fun with movement abilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe like a Rogue or a Gambit. And if the Gambit card does not have you somehow throw a card as
like
part of his ability
rules, essentially.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Deal 3 damage to whatever card your card lands on.
Yeah, yeah. Finally, on exactly. That's where my mind went. Chaos Orb Gambit. Do you know the story about Chaos Orb, Sean?
I assume it's a
Justin?
magic card.
It is. So Chaos Orb is this card that basically said you have to hold this card a minimum of, was it 2 feet above the table, and then drop it, and whatever cards it lands on or touches is destroyed. Like this was a tournament legal card. You just hold it 2 feet. You could hold over your opponent's side and like blow up their lands or whatever. So
oh my god.
in this one tournament, this guy takes the card, rips it up into pieces, and then sprinkles it across his opponent's side, and a judge ruled that that was a legal use of the card.
Oh my god, that is the most excruciatingly fucking magic thing I've ever heard. Jesus Christ.
And so, anyways, that rule got changed after that tournament or whatever.
Yeah,
But,
it did. I'll bet it did.
yeah, I think Chaos Orb is just banned now because it's a dexterity thing. Same thing as like what do you call it when you used to ante a card in Magic. That was a rule back then. But yeah.
See, now I'm imagining that for Gambit in Marvel, you couldn't throw it because of that. You would just have to talk in a bad Creole accent.
Oh no. Oh, Gambit's gonna. Nope, it's bad. I did it.
Yeah.
I win.
You know, I'm proud of you for pulling up so early on that one.
It's late enough. Here we go.
Ooh, Hero Magneto from Big Kahuna.
Ooh, you see, I'd love to see like the second box be Apocalypse and like Magneto be a hero in it.
Ooh.
That would tickle me.
Just straight up Age of Apocalypse.
Yep, straight up. Give it to me. Fuck, where's my GameCube?
Justin, how about
All right.
you?
Yeah, that's it for me and Marvel again.
Yeah. Let's see. Since we last spoke about this about 2 hours ago.
You mean 2 weeks ago?
Right. Other things, I should have actually mentioned this on the last one, but hopefully it's still going on by the time we get this one edited and published. So you guys know I like Keyforge.
Uh-huh.
And they are doing a Game Found, so similar to Kickstarter, campaign for the relaunch. And their hope is that they only have to do that this first time, basically, to gauge interest, fund the relaunch. But that is going live, or will have gone live on September 6th. And so I think then we'll, I guess, run for a month. But yeah, that's happening. So Keyforge is coming back. So anyone who's generally interested in it, I encourage you to check it out. I'm just hyping that because I like Keyforge, want to see it go on for a little while longer at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I've been doing is I have finally gotten most of my game stuff settled post-move, and that includes my Star Wars Destiny extras. And so I am going through and building decks for that based on a new format that was fan-made after the game died. It's called Smash, and you basically build half a deck based on they balanced different characters that were underused and were about half the cost of a deck building points, and then you randomly draw two of them, smash them together, and that's your deck.
That's fun.
Then you play against other Smash decks, but that way you could get more use out of the extras in your collection, or just have certain versions of the different heroes or villains who didn't see as much play actually hit the table. So I'm going through that before I sell off most of my extras.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Lovely.
and that's me. Scott, what do you got?
Scott.
Well, I've in my what I explained, I think last episode, where I said I stop playing Arkham a bit, or I slow down. I have, of course, picked up Star Wars CCG, and I'm building decks because that is my favorite game ever. And yeah, I'm just really excited to play that whenever I can. There was someone who mentioned on the Discord that they are bringing decks to Arkham Nights, so Star Wars CCG Nights is what I'm saying. And Maka said he wanted to learn how to play, so I guess I'm gonna have to teach him, or teach him. I will.
Respect.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention is there was a board game I've been looking at getting for my wife for a long time. She is of Irish descent, very, very Irish. Like her sibling did one of those like Ancestry and Me DNA tests. And you know how it's usually like someone's like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally Italian," and it turns out they're like 22% Italian, 32% German, 6% Irish, or whatever like that. And there's a whole map of the world, and it's different like colors of blue on how whatever. So anyways, he got 100% Irish. Like the map was just Ireland, and then it was like divided into counties. So, anyways, very Irish. And she's kind of been getting back into her Irish heritage and stuff like this. And there was this board game called Inish, which is Gaelic for island. And it's all about, like, it's essentially the legend of how Ireland was formed and, like, the people moving across it and stuff. And it's an absolutely beautiful game, art-wise. The artist, the designer of the board game wanted this specific artist from Ireland, and this is Ireland's most famous artist. His name's like Jim something. He is the guy who did the Che Guevara picture that everyone knows on the T-shirts, which isn't his normal style. I'll have to find some of his styles. But anyways, there's no way that this board game creator could afford the budget that would be to get this artist to do like some commissions for the art and like also licensing for his art. And then out of nowhere, some anonymous guy was just like, I'll take care of it, and paid, like, covered it, and it was like $50,000 to $100,000, just like, I gotcha. And so this art in this game is just unbelievable. And so yeah, we got it, and it's a drafting area control kind of game. It's a European game, and it's very European combat, because you can move into a location with your opponent and you can just be like, do you not want to fight? Like, yeah, let's not fight. Okay, no fight. Like, it's just combat is minimalized if you would like it to be. And anyway, it's a really fun game. It's very highly rated, and I've been having a blast with it. So I got it for her as a present because of the Irish link, and also so we can play it together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun. I am, though, disappointed that you didn't say the artist name was Jim O something or Jim Mc something. Just low-hanging fruit, my friend.
Ah, man. Yeah, God, what is his name? It's a very Irish last name, if I remember correctly. Or maybe it's not, no, because his mother was, I don't know. Don't worry about it. Anyways, great game. It's spelled Inis, but pronounced Inish, because it's Gaelic. So,
We do love the Gaelic.
We do. That's it.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for episode 138 of Mythos Busters. We'll catch you guys next month.
Bye.
Bye.